Hi, Julie Jones from SSP Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear. This week we're talking about the gap. It's the time between the moment you get frustrated and the moment that you're able to come back and do your job. I was sitting in my office one day and my assistant walks in and she's got this clipboard and I can see it still has stickers on it because it looks new. And she says, "Hey coach, this says it's unbreakable." She says, "I doubt it." Well, fortunate for me, I was able to have numerous assistant coaches who were also my former players. So they knew me well. And we'll say that they thought I was probably, we'll call it passionate. And I broke a few clipboards here and there back in the day. And I'm not proud of that, but that's just the reality of it. But finally, I realized that every time I lost my mind, whether it was throwing a clipboard, yelling at an umpire, getting worked up about something, I lost way more than that. The game continued to move on. But guess who wasn't going with it? And I bet you've done that before too. I started thinking about this when I was working with my high-level soccer club, the International Soccer Club from here in Ohio, one of the best in the country. And we were talking about the gap, the time that it takes us to get back from wherever we go. Whenever we go there, whether we are ruminating, whether we are complaining, whether we are venting, whether we are commentating, whether we are just frustrated, or even when we're excited, that time, that gap, doesn't allow us to execute. We are not peak performers during that time. What do you do during the gap? How long is your gap? So I asked the kids, I said, how long do you think you're in the gap? Some of them said about 15 seconds, some said 30. Lots said longer than that, and some said 2 days. Someone said a week. After the coach said something to them, they were in that and having a hard time staying focused as they went through. That's a long time. But even 15 seconds, let's look at 15 seconds if we're talking about soccer. What can happen on a soccer pitch in 15 seconds? A ton. What can happen in the 2 minutes that it took me to get back down from getting all fired up during the game? Well, I learned the hard way. Lots can happen. So we are not doing our job when we're in the gap. The gap doesn't have to consist of all like bad stuff either. I remember we were playing Ohio State at our place one time. The reason that's significant is because that didn't happen very often back in the day. But we were going to the bottom of the seventh, nothing. We get the first runner on. I have no idea how that happened. I don't remember. But I do remember that we were going to go with the normal Julie Jones softball and sack over the runner. We felt like that was our best option. So we did. And they got the lead out. Oh, shoot. And then they celebrated. And then we, noticing, because this is what we worked on all the time, that second base was wide open, Krista Hansen took it. And there she stood at second base. We got exactly what we wanted while they were celebrating. They were in the gap. The gap can consist of all kinds of things. The gap is the time that we are not present. We are not focused. We are not doing our job. Next kid gets up, Lisa McLean, hits a triple. Krista scores. Game over. We took advantage of the gap. But the gap normally takes advantage of us, let's be honest. I was watching a college softball game the other day, and a kid was standing on the mound. She was getting ready to take the signal in, see what pitch she had to throw. And all of a sudden, she loses her balance. She's one foot's up and the back toes on the ground, and she's sort of wavers around there. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to take the pitch and she's just going to throw. She's not going to reset or refocus herself. And she did. She pitched, and it went right down Broadway. Ooh, I'm like, this is not going to be good. Well, the batter didn't swing for whatever reason, so she got away with it. And sometimes we do. We get away with being in the gap until we don't. So the question is, what can we do to shrink it? I've got all kinds of ideas if you'd like to hear them, but they can start with our 3-step refocus process that we use. It could be something as simple as a physical movement. It could be something as simple as a deep breath. But all of us need something to help us shorten that gap. We are going to get frustrated. We're going to get elated. We're going to get so irritated or disappointed, and it will take us away from being present. Heck, it's our nature. Our mind wanders 47% of the time. And we wonder why our kids aren't listening to us or those that we lead aren't listening to us. But the bottom line is that we can work this out because we have a responsibility to whatever happens. We have the ability to respond if we have a plan. So what's your plan for shrinking the gap? That's this week's question. I challenge you to think about how long you're in the gap. After I broke a clipboard and people were out picking up the papers that flew off of it or whatever, how long do you think, what do you think I missed? I finally smartened up. It took me a long time, and I'm still learning, just like you and the athletes and people that you lead. We all get thrown off our game. But we can manage it with a plan. So what's your plan? How long does your gap last? How can you adjust it? How can you shrink it down? Well, it's never going to go away, but I guarantee you this, if you can shrink the time that you're in the gap, you will be able to execute more effectively, and your performance will increase and improve. Be sure to go to my website today and check out the Master the Mental Game Summit. It's a free summit, March 7th through 9th. You can get a VIP pass and keep it for 90 days. But I get the pleasure of being with 10 other, I should say, mental performance coaches from all around the country. It's all virtual. It's all asynchronous. You can watch it whenever you like, but there's some great information there. And you can sign up for free to get it that weekend, or you can buy a VIP pass and have it for 3 months. But there are all kinds of bonuses. It's worth about $2,800 worth of content. So check it out at sspperformance.com. You'll see right on my website, there's a link you can click and get your free ticket. So check that out before you get done with this tip today. And in the meantime, think about how you're going to shrink your gap and manage the moments. See you next week.